All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown Podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben, your host today, and I am the CEO of Ironclad Restoration Marketing, where I help restoration business owners across the United States and Canada get more sales just by getting their internet marketing right. Today, I'm really excited about this episode. We've been looking forward to this for a while. It's a longtime friend of the show, friend of mine, friend of Ironclad, and one of the main players here in the restoration industry. So I'm going to just, save a little time here and bring him right on. I want you guys to welcome Mr. Jon Isaacson from Dyojo.com, the myth, the man, and the legend, best-selling author, really big reader. And my friend and your friend, Jon Isaacson. Hey man, welcome to the show. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on and join us.
I'm not joking. We included portions of what we talked about last time and promoting the No BS guide to internet marketing for restoration contractors. But I've got it labeled, highlighted, like I really did read the book. I'm going to read one now for all of you out there, and maybe this has changed. But do's and don'ts of posting. Use the 80-20 rule for marketing messages. Put out 80% information, not just we're better than X, and 20% marketing. So that alone should sell this podcast and the book, the No BS Guide. I read it every morning. I pray to Saint Ricciardi. Sorry. Am I saying that right? Ricciardi?
You said it right the first time and then corrected yourself into saying it wrong, but that's okay. You know what? Both instances I will accept. I will also accept any and all offers to buy this podcast. Like you mentioned, we're trying to sell it here. The book is for sale on Amazon. If you're interested, we got a Kindle version and we got a new revised edition of the No BS Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Contractors. Jon, awesome, man. I appreciate you guys using the book. And yeah, speaking of which, we'll just jump right into that. The social media thing, guys, if you're out there and you're trying to utilize or figure out a way to leverage social media to get more jobs, it can't just be flooded with just, hey, use us. You need to provide value. So just in general, just make sure the majority of your posts on social media are showing off your work, teaching somebody something, sharing industry news, sharing what to do if there's a disaster happens. And then every once in a while with one of your posts showing a before and after of a project, you can write the call to action to give us a call if you have any property damage. And that'll really help cut through the noise. And it also sets you apart from everybody else out there that is doing that vanilla social media posting. Speaking of social media posting, Jon, you have some of the best videos with your podcast that you do. Your promos crack me up every time. It's what I aspire to be able to edit my videos too. So one of these days I'm gonna have to fly out there to the West Coast and get some vitamin R's with you, and you'll have to, you'll have to clip some stuff up. So Jon, for those of the people that might have been living under a rock in this industry and don't know who you are, why don't you give the audience a little background on who you are and what exactly you do before we jump right into everything?
Yeah, I guess surprising to some, I'm a contractor. So we've got a small restoration company, small growing restoration company in Puyallup, Washington, which is east of Tacoma, which is south of Seattle. So we are southeast of Seattle, if you can put those two together. And yeah, we focus on the recon side. I started in the industry back in 2002. In the I would call it the third quarter of the mold is gold era. So when you had divisions in your company that only did mold remediation, I know in your neck of woods in Florida, that's still fairly common. A lot of other places, it's like an add-on service.
Yeah.
So it's real funny depending on where you are, what's normative. So yeah, contractor. I've got a podcast, not as good or as smooth as this one, the Restoration Rundown.
I don't know about that.
Well, you're on point. You're on topic. You do a great job. Some of your stuff just cracks me up. The pictures, the way you edit the picture.
that's the extent of and I'm glad you noticed it, because I always do that, and I feel like it's a labor of love, and I don't think anybody ever notices the funny face I make and clip myself in, and it's
hilarious.
I try, but yeah, mold in South Florida. Everybody, if you're in Florida and you're listening to this, that if you don't move long enough with the humidity we have here, you're going to start growing mold on yourself. So yeah, it's a big service down here for most of the restoration contractors, either indoor air quality guys or guys that just do everything.
Yep. it's still a big deal in the Northwest. We got, high humidity and a lot of moisture, but you don't see as many companies that are only doing mold,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That makes sense.
but yeah, so that's kind of my rough background. We went a little bit more into that last episode, so we'd refer people there to, go ahead and do your homework and listen to that one. And we just really did a deep dive. We soul surged, we cried, and we bonded.
We cried, we laughed, we shared, we overcame, and now here we are. Some months later, I'm in the new studio.
Hey.
You still got that badass Ultimate Warrior poster, big head back there. I'm jealous of that. But the one thing I noticed in your background is, and for those of you again who don't know, Jon is an accomplished author. Not only is he an accomplished author, but he's also a best-selling author, and he's written a series of books called the Be Intentional series. And the last time we spoke, we were talking about him publishing his third one. And between now and then, he's published his fourth book in the Be Intentional series, How to Suck Less at Estimating. By the way, killer cover. I love it. It's really cool. It's giving me some ideas for my next book. As you know, in the internet marketing world, things change so rapid. It's like as soon as I published the last revised edition, there was another big algorithm changing names of things and moving things around. So we're working on it. But I would like to talk a little bit about that book because we just had a guest on a few episodes ago, Jeff Diem from Elkmont Estimates, who's a third-party estimator, and he went through the gamut of why you should look at third parties and the big problems that people face out there. But he is not a restorer. He was a restorer in the past. So talk to me about this book. Give me background of the book, why you decided to write the book. And I know Dyojo does a lot of education, so I'm sure that's part of it.
So all those elements, education, I think a lot of people, it's still the most popular is the first book, Be Intentional Estimating.
Mm-hmm.
That was with the encouragement of Michelle Blevins, back when she was at R&R, and you recently had her on the show as well, right?
We are having her on the show, I think in like 2 weeks, somewhere in time in the beginning. So stay tuned because that's going to be awesome. I'm really excited to have her on.
You are upgrading, brother. So, I had an article back in 2018, the 10 Commandments of Estimating, and it was fairly popular and kind of showed that there's some interest, and it was hitting a touch point that was helpful. Turned that and a couple other articles into a book. So Lisa Lavender is at the Restoration Technical Institute just north of you in Pennsylvania. And she approached me about possibly turning that first book into a course or like an intro to estimating course. It is, if you read it, it's not a deep dive into estimating principles, but more of if you want to get into estimating, if you want to grow your career, here's some things that will really help you. And then also, I always kind of try to write to three groups, I guess, like the person trying to grow their career in this industry, the new manager. A lot of people get thrown into management and don't have, they were good at what they did, and now learning the people stuff is really difficult on the fly.
Yeah.
And then like the new owner, or someone looking to, develop their team. And like, I think a lot of owners, if they read any of my books, will be like, hey man, this is stuff I say every day. Right. And it's just another person saying it. So anyways, she approached me about turning that. And so it started that process. Do I go back and edit that book, revise it, and then do we do PowerPoints? Do we do videos? And she kind of encouraged, just kind of in the similar format to the way we do our podcast. We try to infotain, right? To entertain while we inform you. I don't know about you, but I don't have a great attention span. So, what'd you say?
What?
Huh?
Oh, I forgot we were recording, man.
Oh, wait, what? Hello? We're live?
Yeah. See, I was just answering emails. Sorry.
No, babe, I'm on a podcast.
No.
I don't know.
We're on a podcast?
Some guy. I don't know.
I thought this was a Zoom call. Oh, man.
Oh, I didn't put pants on. So, yeah. So the book is
by the
designed.
way, you're not allowed to wear pants on this podcast, by the way. If anybody out there is listening, no guest ever that's been on this podcast has worn a pair of pants.
A step ahead of you.
That's unverified information because you can only see the top half of them. But I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that's what I think is happening.
As soon as I hit the front door, pants off. So,
yeah. Of any building, it's weird. That's why a lot of people know who Jon is. He's the pants-free restorer.
Yeah, that's
New,
what they call them. Old
new
pants
book,
free.
new book coming 2024.
The pants free. So this book, How to Suck Less at Estimating, there's it's 6 modules, 6 chapters, 6 resources that the reader will get that'll help them either, step into estimating, develop an estimating department, or create some clarity and accountability around rules. So, excuse me. That's the gist of it. So I just sent the final proofs to Lisa, hopefully the final, for the course, and so that'll be fun to see, that in 2 different mediums. And
wow, that's awesome. So you're turning this into a course, which rightfully so. I mean, this is not everybody nowadays, with just how much noise is out there, has the time to sit down and like open a book and read it and go step by step. Honestly, I have a book that it's totally about business development. It's totally about solving all the problems that I have when it comes to running. And I own multiple businesses here, and I always have the same problem. And I've not only not opened the book to start it because I know that I have to be able to get it going. I've bought the book for like 5 different people and told them about how great and how much they need it. And I have not read it yet. But I would say if it was a course, I would probably spend a lot more time sitting down and engaging with it. And again, when it comes to my world and the marketing world, that's why video is so powerful. So I'm really excited to see how this comes out. I'm all for it. We're thinking internally about doing something similar. And trying to bring people like you and people that are really trying to educate in and doing like kind of like an all out, hey, here's how you do it from start to finish kind of course. So if anybody out there is listening, that's something you'd be interested in, definitely shoot us a message and let us know, because it might nudge us in the direction of getting this thing going a little bit faster. So how long is it going to be before I know you just said your final proofs hopefully are coming soon. If and when you get launched here, where would they find it? Is it going to be on their website?
Yeah, Restoration Technical Institute, and we're working out some of those finer details. But I think she wants to either try to get it out before the end of the year or real soon into 2023. So,
okay, all right. So let's dive into the book a little bit.
Okay.
This is the second book about estimating. I know you said the first one's an overview. This one, not only is the title awesome, because I know just dealing with my clients that, estimating is an area of contention. What softwares to use, how to bring the line items that are going to get approved, and all these different things that we know are issues. So, what problems did you see that made you kind of dive in a little bit deeper? And, what should somebody expect to get out of this book?
Yeah, I think one thing, I actually did a word search in there because you mentioned estimating issues. I think, and it comes up a lot, at least 17 times. So I think for your audience, if a lot of your people are restoration contractors, and so I think typically when you have a business, right, you start it, all the stuff, your hands are in everything, and so. And that's tricky because if you're out producing, you're not estimating or getting new work. And if you're estimating and getting new work or collecting, you're not producing, and you need it all, right? So you start out, you're doing it all. And then eventually you start trying to hand off some element of it. So I probably wouldn't disagree with your prior guest. Third-party estimating can be a great way to kind of delegate one aspect of the business. If you got the right partner, you send them the data. That's a huge issue. When you are no longer the one inspecting, writing, negotiating, and starting the project, there's at least 4 points where there can be communication and details loss that affect your ability to collect and be profitable. So one of the keys is, thorough data capture leads to accurate data input. And if you're using an estimating software, whether that's Xactimate or, people create their own T&M sheets in QuickBooks, or there's a plethora of other, probably the most common in our industry is Xactimate. And so when that data capture is not up to snuff, it causes ripples. And the key thing is the communication part. Is it clear? Is it consistent? Can you hold people accountable for it? So we're doing that now. We're, I talked about our small company. We just hired, this will be our 3rd project manager, somebody with no industry experience. So It's great. They're a blank slate. I
Yeah.
prefer that. They don't have bad habits, but at the same time, they don't know the industry, and they don't have a lot of knowledge even in the construction field. So I believe that's 100% doable. It just takes time, and then every time they stub their toe, okay, so here's what we learned
Sure.
from that. Let's not repeat the same mistake. So I think that's huge. Like, as if you're a new company, you're starting to grow it, you're starting to add those people, having that clarity and consistency. I call it the leadership download, where this is why I started a business. I really don't care about anything else. This is why this is my business, why I started it, what I feel is important. And so you got to obviously find people that can embrace that and help you grow that. But if you just expect, like myself, I expect somebody has no prior experience to pick up on 20 years of experience, in even 3 weeks, it's not going to happen.
No.
So that communication transfer is key to growing your business, and it's the same thing in estimating. If you don't have the details, whether you're writing it, you're sending it off to get remote written, or you're hiring an estimator to take on some of that, if the details aren't there, nobody's going to succeed. And then that rolls into production as well, right? A poorly written estimate is going to set a lot of things off on the wrong foot.
Yeah. So you got to have a solid foundation, so, I mean, it's communication's key. The data, it's like playing telephone, right?
Yes.
When we were kids, you're whispering something in somebody's ear, and by the time it gets to the end, it's completely different. Sometimes people did it on purpose, and sometimes, which I was, maybe known for, just completely changing it. But yeah, no, communication's key. So the book obviously addresses that fundamental foundational aspect of, I guess every part of your business, but specifically when it comes to estimating, is at the end of the day, that's how you're getting your money. So that's a pretty crucial part of your business. So you're addressing that data flow. Is there any kind of quick tip as far as the communication that you address in the book? You might want to give us a little secret sauce.
A little bit of the secret sauce. Okay, here's one. If you're going out to inspect a job, right, and there's a half bathroom over by the kitchen, right? So the customer calls it their bathroom. The adjuster, the mitigation company, called it the half bath. The adjuster called it the powder room. Your estimator or whoever's responsible, your techs, whatever, called it the downstairs bathroom. And then when the estimate, it came around to the estimator, they called it a closet, right? Maybe they completely mislabeled it because maybe they didn't have the details. There's now 5 different naming conventions for that. And you're not even consistent in your own recognition of what that room is in your own document. So it's very important. Even something as simple as that sets things off. Because say worst case scenario, you get sued, right? Well, you're saying, hey, we did all this work in the powder closet or whatever the heck you put in your estimate, but then all the production team's documentation and everything is calling it some different room. It's just going to be a mess to unwind, all because we can't get on the same page about what this dang room's called. And it should flow from whoever did the inspection calls it whatever, whether they're using DocuSketch, Matterport, or a hand-drawn sketch. It's got a name that should then flow to everything else. So it seems so simple, but it's wild how much that can cause problems, just those little details. And then the naming conventions and the photos and everything too, they're completely off. So especially remote estimating, they wrote for the downstairs bathroom. Well, what actually the techs were taking pictures of was the half bathroom, maybe the other downstairs bathroom. Right. So it's not an accurate scope.
Yeah. So these problems probably compound. So it sounds like, from a basic, before you step into it, then you have to have these systems and these processes in place that everybody's on the same page with. So you start from the get-go, documenting things properly. No, that's great. It's funny because I'm always internalizing my ADHD or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. They doctors call it one thing, but they're practicing medicine, right? They're like weathermen.
What do they know?
But you have to have these processes in place, or you're going to compound these issues. And communication is fundamentally the key, and the parallels that are drawn with every single aspect of your business. If you have a team, the better your processes and your systems are, the better outcome, the faster you're going to grow. And when it comes to estimating, the more money you're going to probably make at the end of the day. And you're going to have less issues when it comes to getting that paycheck and kind of closing out a project.
Yep. Yep. Well, and a lot of people want to blame the estimating software or the insurance companies, and believe me, they
Yeah,
bear plenty of blame. But there is a ton that every person, if they step back, can say, "I could do this and this better, and we'd have a better outcome, or a much clearer path to a better outcome."
sure. I love it. I mean, so I know you mentioned that was, I mean, that's a major fundamental problem. What I always like to do here, as you know, is I like to present, hey, here's some of the things that guys are struggling with. We just talked about communication, and here's what, not only are you doing this education, but you actually are in it. You're out there and you run a restoration company. So, are there any other, like, couple more things that you see that is a major universal problem in this industry that your book directly addresses, so people can get nudged over and head on and buy it, and then sign up for the course when it comes out?
Sign up for the course. Yeah, I think the one of the other pieces is kind of like a fundamental. When I got in the industry, I think we promoted the idea we're the contractor, we're going to solve everything.
Mm-hmm.
And as insurance has become, I think in general, the environment around business has become more litigious. It's more
Yeah.
connected. People have access. Every customer you go to thinks they know everything about insurance, everything about construction. I'll tell a funny story. I went to a customer's house, and he had these stack of papers, and it was the scope. And so he's telling me as I arrived, and this is kind of, I don't know, trigger whatever. Like it took me the wrong way. But he's like, the insurance company wants linear foot measurements. They want square footage. So I've taken the room by room, and it's like a bathroom with like a toilet room off to the side. And he goes, I've broken out the scope, and this is what you need to bid on. All bids are going to me, and then I'm going to send them to the insurance companies. And I'm looking at this stack of papers, and I said, how many contractors did you call? And he goes, well, 4 were here yesterday. You're one of 3 today, and there's going to be probably 2 or 3 more tomorrow. And I said, okay. I said, I handed him the piece of paper back, and I said, out of the 9 people you've called, I think you're going to find somebody that's going to be a good fit for you.
Yeah.
You don't even want to bid it? And I said, no, I don't. I mean, I've got like a stack of estimates to write back in the office. I'm thinking our process broke down big time, not screening this issue. And so as owners, we always want to, or managers, the techs never give me documentation, blah, 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 blah. I never have what I need to write the estimate. The estimators blaming the project manager blames the crew. The owner has his monthly yell at everybody meeting. And that breakdown there alone is you send your team to projects daily with crap details. Yeah. And then you yell at them for not giving you good details. You're the problem. I'm the problem. I didn't screen this client. I can't be mad at him. He's had this plan. He probably would have told me all about his plan, or I could have got a sense by just asking a few key questions. So the idea, I think I kind of went into 2 ideas. I started with, we want to solve people's problems. And really, I think the contractor has to say, if it's a policy issue, if the insurance company is pushing back on a policy issue, we're done. Like that's your contract with your insurance company. You need to push that battle. Without going too far into those details, unless you're going the assignment of benefits route, I'm not saying that I'm an advocate for that. That's one approach. But unless you're going that route, I think we got to be careful as contractors not to push that too far. Here's some resources that are available, like UP Help and those kinds of things, to where you can really battle and look it up. I can tell you as a contractor, normally in this situation, this is what I've seen. But really, you have to hold, as the insured, have to hold your insurance company accountable. Because the customer will gladly waste your time, spend your time, and not get you compensated for all of the back and forth, when it's really not your issue, So I think clarifying what your role is, what your responsibilities are, your place in the restoration triangle, and not being adversarial when it's really not your issue, unless they've particularly retained you to do some aspect of that. And that's really getting into some of that public adjusting.
Sure.
which in a lot of states, if you're unlicensed in doing that, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. But yeah, I think one issue is solving problems that aren't ours, and then not really being consistent and clear internally. Both of those things carry over into the estimating process, because we're writing estimates that we have no real precedence for or ground for. If we're not actually the structure speak for itself, or we're trying to interpret policy, and then if we're not providing the right details, I'm sure there's a lot of contractors that'll listen to you talk about third-party estimating, like it didn't work for me. Like, yeah,
right,
sure.
Right. We deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
It's funny because you hit on a lot of really, really important things, and I wanted to make sure everybody caught this stuff. So one, I always thought that marketing was the only business that every client you have knows how to do your job better than you. But it sounds like there's some homeowners out there that are really into it. And one of the big things that, we talk about right before we got into that was processes and systems. And the better your processes and the better your systems are, the more you can grow. But the harder part about creating these SOPs and the processes is actually sticking to them, because you want to solve a problem. And I know for myself, I've gotten into a lot of trouble over the years with my businesses, and especially the marketing business, is somebody coming up, they have an issue, how you can fix it, you do it. And at some line down the road, and maybe years, you end up looking like a bad guy for solving a problem. You've gone away from your scope of work. You've gone away from your processes and your systems. And now you've become the owner of all of their other problems that really had nothing to do with you. And you mentioned the restoration triangle. So again, like you started off with, communication, data, communicate, and educate. You're going to have to do that internally, but you're also going to have to do that with your prospective clients. Educate them off the bat. The screening process you brought up is huge. We started implementing that a couple of years ago, and man, I cannot tell you the trouble and the stress and the aggravation it saved us. 100%, because you when you go away from your processes and your systems, and you see these red flags happening with clients or potential clients, and you make exceptions because, hey, we got to make money, we have to grow our business, but the more you stick to your guns, the better off you're going to be. So if you find yourself as a restorer, if you're by any chance listening to this, you might be in marketing, you're a marketing person for a restoration company, stick to your guns. The red flags are so obvious within the first 10 seconds of talking to somebody. You need to set up part of your systems as a screening process to say, here's our ideal client. Here's our avatar. Here's who we want to work for. This is how it goes. And this is what we're going to do. And you never deviate from that, because you will never, ever win. Imagine if you did sit there and spend 3 hours going back and forth with this guy. You're one of 15 contractors he's called. It's a lose-lose for you, because one, it's already tough. And excuse me. One of the things you do that's really cool is the letter of intent, right? And so that's get away from the free estimates, because we know I have a construction business, and our bid process takes sometimes 2 weeks. That's a lot of resources and energy and time spent on something that you probably have a 20 to 30% chance of nailing down. So, again, to recap it, get your systems in order, but the bigger part of that is follow them. Right. We all know if you want to lose weight, here's a system. You eat better and you work out. But if you don't follow either one, you just know that information and you end up like me. You need to make sure you're sticking to those guns and identify your red flags and talk to your team about it. Communicate that, say, hey, if you're going into a spot and this starts happening, you need to, call a project manager, call a supervisor, whatever the case may be, so we can mitigate that from the get-go. So one thing about the estimating and the time involved, I want, and we talked about this in the last one, but I wanted to just recap it, because we may have like 1 or 2 more subscribers since then. I think we're up to like 7 now. So a pretty big deal. Yeah, man. And I know like 4 of them are like my mom and my dad and my brothers. And stuff. So, hey, you 3 people that are listening to, John says hi. And I don't even know if she listens. I think she just puts play and it just turns the volume down. And
it counts. Yeah.
So the letter of intent, that's a big thing. And I don't know if a lot of people do that and, without being in that industry, but I wanted you to talk a little bit about that, why you came up with that. And I know we're deviating a little bit from the book, but I think it's really important. Talk a little bit about that letter of intent versus the free estimates thing. And I know you talk about it a lot on Dyojo. So
Yeah, thanks for the plug. That's going to be, I think,
Oh,
episode
we didn't
9.
talk about that. Hold on. You guys don't know, not only is Jon accomplished author, owns a restoration business, but Jon also has the Dyojo.com. So if you don't know him as Jon Isaacson, you might know the name Dyojo. And if you don't, you need to get on it. There's a ton of information there. He helps restoration businesses everywhere with everything. He's so gracious with his information and all his experience he's putting into that. So I just wanted to plug Dyojo as much as I possibly can. They're really they have the giver's gain mentality, and I really think that that's brought you a long way, and it's probably lended to a lot of this stuff. So after you're done blushing, I know for everybody can see here, talk to me a little bit about the letter of intent and how that all came about.
Yeah, the letter of intent, exactly like you're talking about. If you're in survival mode, right, or new business, you need whatever you can. After you get bit, right, then you realize like a bad customer just isn't worth it, right? Because you're probably going to end up losing money, or even if you make money on paper, you spent copious hours, off the record, like fixing things or making things or taking phone calls. So we had, so our business in 2 years, just shy of 2 years, has gone from the PM and myself to now 3 PMs. But when it's just the two of us, I was doing the majority of the inspections and estimating, and then our PM number 1 was running the projects. And so we thankfully had a pretty good lead source. We had some program work, and then we had other mitigation contractors. Oh my goodness! And other mitigation contractors referring us, and a lot of tire kickers. So that is not unique to restoration. That's across the board in skilled trades. So I think when you're in survival mode, you take whatever you get. You just start to creep into scraping by or having a fighting chance. This is a plug for an article that's coming out in CNR magazine.
Oh yeah.
The 4 modes of profitability for the contractor. So the next print version. So if you aren't subscribed, it's free. You can subscribe to the online version as well as the print version. So, for us, we reached a point where it's like, man, I personally am tired of going to jobs like the guy with the papers. That's a pretty, extreme. So part of that is clarify the screening process, right? Really dig in and ask people questions. If it's a private job, we only do recon. We'll ask them, what's your budget? Like, what are you thinking you want to spend? And if they're not willing to ask that, that might be a reason to pass, like, okay, you're not willing to share. So when customers tell us, this is crazy, this is actually a principle from program work. So there are carriers, this may not be the same across the board in our area. The program we're working on with the carriers we work with, they are not supposed to use the program for comparative bids, right? So if they sent you out, if we call and the customer says, yeah, Ben's been out here, he's doing a great job, his company's going to bid on the repairs. Okay, this needs to be turned into an estimate only. Now it's a pittance, but it is something. Even the programs know the contractor should be paid for going out there to inspect and provide an estimate, because it's a service to the carrier. Do they always pay it? Is it always a good system? No, it's not. But like I would say 75% of the time, if we change it to estimate only, we're getting paid something. It's not a lot, but it's something. So those of you that want to poop on program work, they at least understand this principle. And then in the private scenarios, if we know they're getting 3 bids, I wrote an article about I think that's in CleanFacts, the nonsense of 3 bids. I think at a time, maybe it served a purpose, but it's crazy now. It's more, who do you want to work with? Who understands your vision, and who's going to be able to honor your budget? And I think even consumers can get there just by phone calls prior to wasting somebody's time to get out there. So, and if you can't do that as a contractor, develop that skill, because it'll save you a lot of wasted time. And so that was kind of our approach is, okay, we're not going to charge for estimates up front unless we know a realtor. My experience with realtors, They want to use it as a bargaining chip. So if I'm providing you a value, you're going to pay for that value, or no, you can call somebody else. But what about the opportunity? No. We don't need opportunity.
I just bought 2 loaves of bread with some opportunity.
Yeah. It feeds my family, right? So if they want competitive bids, if it's a competitive bid scenario, yeah, we charge for that. We charge to come out and provide a competitive bid. If you want us to review the other bids for free, we'll do that.
Sure.
You send their bids to us and we'll tell you whether we think they're in the right ballpark. Same thing with insurance. Send us your adjuster came out. Awesome. Send us it. It's probably the quickest way to get you some kind of resolution and moving forward. We'll review that for free. You don't want to share that with us? Okay, we charge, and then because customers will gladly waste your time. And if you set the precedence from the front that our time is free, they're going to expect your time to be free the whole process, change orders, all of it. Hey, it's 7:00 at night and, there's this tiny little issue that doesn't affect anything. I want you out here, and so what we explain is we ask you to sign it. It talks about what our basic rates are, what we think the price will be. And if we go through the trouble of coming out, inspecting, providing an estimate, interacting with your insurance company, and you decide to go with somebody else, complete within your rights, we just ask that we're able to recover our time. And then that's simply how we explain it. And I think I told you last time, the first time I used it, because I don't believe I shouldn't give it to my team if I'm not willing to do it myself. And the customer was like, yeah, that makes sense. Do you want to check before you come out? Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cash, check. It's great because you're all the stuff you talked about before with the communication, the processes, the knowing who your target is and knowing what those red flags and going away with. This kind of like solves quite a bit of those problems right off the bat. Once you qualify them and you go out, one, you're establishing that line in the sand with client and your relationship, what it's going to look like, how the communication process flows. So you're going to mitigate those crazy phone calls and emails and all these different questions that you're probably already getting. Because look, most of the time, or not most of the time, but a big part of business is the residential side. Residential is kind of tough. Talk to any, contractor that does interior stuff for residential. That's a lot to deal with. You're dealing with a lot of opinions. You're dealing with people, again, in the restoration industry, people that are frustrated, they're unhappy already because of the nature of the work that you're doing. So establishing that communication up front, your letter of intent is gold. I hope a lot of people are adopting something like that to one, establish a communication. I mean, that's worth its weight in gold, but two, now you're going to get compensated for all this time you're out there spending with these people, and you're setting it before you even go out there. It's like, this is going to cost you something. So let's be efficient.
Well, and that's the thing, like the free estimate, right? Like an estimate. Yeah. You describe to me basic parameters of your project, and I will provide you a verbal estimate that's non-binding. That's free, I should be able to do that. I did that. For a period of time, I had my own construction company and did a lot of mold. We had the benefit of having the report from the hygienist, but I could say, based on these parameters, what you've described to me, where you're located, I think it's going to be about this much. I will come out. You sign a contract, pay a deposit. I will come out. If on that at that time, I was much younger then. If I come out and the project is way different than what I've quoted, once I see it, I'll let you know right away, and we can part ways, or I'll tell you what the additional amount was. I was usually spot on, and it worked really well because at that time when I was a one-man show trying to feed our young family, I did not have time to waste. I didn't have the gas to waste. It just was, for me, it was just logical. Like, no, I'm not driving 3 hours to bid some $5,000 mold job. Like, you're gonna commit to it, and then I'll come out. Or go ahead and hire somebody else. And I remember one of my larger projects. They hired the cheaper person, and then they called me back 3 weeks later. And,
low bid.
Any chance your price is cheaper? And I was like, it should be higher because now I got to clean up their mess. But I'll honor my former number.
Yeah. We deal with that a lot. We're, more commercial site development, but man, it blows my mind that after all the years that the 3 bid thing or 4 bid, some guys down here are looking at it, and these guys go with low bid. And I would say 90% or greater, regret it because the work's either not going to get done. they miss something major on the blueprints when they're looking at something, or you're dealing with contractors that may not be licensed, that may have techs that are just going to screw you up. And almost every single time at some point you get a call back and says, hey, we went, and these are major GCs. I mean, these are guys that are doing 30, 60, hundreds of millions of dollars a year in work, and they never seem to learn that they'll go with this low bid. And you're looking at like, man, I don't know how they came in that low. Like our materials double that, right? How is this person doing this? And when you try to convey that to the estimators on their end, they're like, I don't know. We're just, owner wants to go with low bid. So here we are. No, that's really great information for everybody out there listening, guys. Check out Dyojo. If you've been in business forever, every day, if you're not waking up and learning something, you're probably not waking up. So if you've been in business forever, you got to check him out. Check out his books. Continue to learn. Education is key. Communication is big, even bigger than that when it comes to your business. Understanding who you're trying to do business with is a very big metric. We've talked about this. I think almost every guest of mine, no matter what vertical of the restoration world you're in or business world, setting those expectations, these principles are core for any type of business. Okay. If you don't know who you're selling to, you're not going to do a good job at doing it. So
simplify your life and your customers, right?
100%. And you said something funny. It's like, when you go, normally when you go out of your way and you pass up on these processes and these systems and you become that go-to where the client is calling you and they're bugging you and they're going way outside of your scope, all you're doing is buying yourself a bad Google review. Every single time. And because when you either are going to put your foot down at some point and say, you got to stop. And then they're going to get pissed and they're going to be, how dare you? But at the end of the day, so not only you're wasting money, you're wasting your time, but you're really just buying yourself a bad review. You're buying yourself a bad experience on a client side, and it's not their fault. It's your fault. You have to establish that line in the sand right off the bat, how the communication is going to flow, and they're going to be happier for it. They're going to know. They're not going to pick up that phone at 9 and say, hey, I think I smell something. And it's like, no, you don't. Like, I'll be there tomorrow.
Your husband farted.
Right. I might have been a dog. I don't know. I can't say. I might have done it before I left. I know
for sure I did, because
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was me that farted. But either way, so that's all great information, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on. But before we go, you do something that I very well hold true to my heart. I'm really big, if anybody knows me, about giving back to my community. I've run a nonprofit down here in Florida for close to 8 years, providing, different programs for children with special needs in South Florida. Now we're pivoting to helping kids and families deal with cancer. But you have an initiative that you've been doing. I don't know how long yet. I know at least the last couple of years since we've gotten to know each other. And it's called Socktember. Tell the audience a little bit about Socktember and how they can get involved.
This is our 3rd year. And so we started it in the heat of the shutdown. And so it was, how do we maybe create some connection in our company, some connection with our vendors, some connection with the restoration community. So 2020 had this idea. Honestly, if I were rich, I think one of the things I would splurge on is a new pair of socks every day. There's nothing better than that feeling.
Oh yeah.
And so we reached out, and that's like, we hear it all the time. Like that's a big need, but it is a big need, like homeless community, underserved. We reached out, found out it was a need. I simply just thought, like, I'm at Costco. Every time I go to Costco, I'll buy an extra pair of socks. If I can get other people to do this, we could probably raise like 1,000 socks and blow the doors off of the Tacoma rescue mission, And so talked about it with a couple other, Lindsay Ward, Reliable Content Services, Diane Salz, Seattle Contents, Sarah Roberts with Service Master at Tacoma, David Keene at Arkin, and a couple others. Those are kind of like the core people. My wife, who's a realtor here in Puyallup, and her team. And then at that time, Merritt Construction in Tacoma. So a lot of people just said, yeah, that sounds great. So we had 4 teams. We were going to try to make it a competition where we kind of had like a March Madness, but that was a little harder to manage. Yeah. So there is a trophy. We have a trophy, Tacoma Trophy in town. But it's a trophy. There's a tag on each year. And so that first year we had 4 local teams here in Washington, and we raised like 5,500 pairs of socks.
Wow.
We were like, holy cow. And this is we're the kings of charities, right?
Sock millionaires.
And so the Sisters for Socks, Lindsay and Sarah, they won, and we had a party. No, that year we didn't have a party because it was still shut down.
Yeah.
The next year we brought it back. Those core teams came back. Onside Restoration out of Canada joined with several of their offices. Brandy out in New Hampshire, Elon down in San Diego, whom you've had on the podcast.
Yep.
A couple others started teams. And so we had 39. We went from 4 teams to 39 teams, and we raised 66,000 pairs of socks.
Wow.
And so the shutdown was over then. So we had a big a Halloween themed costume party, announced the winner at Reliable Content Services. So now we have 2 kind of annual things, the Socktember in September, and then the party in October. And this year it's going to be a happy hour, see if maybe more people are able to attend. But I did the math on it. I think that's, so a pair of socks weighs 60 to 120 grams. There's 454 grams in a pound. So roughly 4 pairs of socks to a pound. We raised 66,000. So there's 16,500 pounds of socks. That means we raised over 8 tons of socks.
Wow. Now you're a sock broker instead of a stockbroker.
Yep.
You're realizing your master plan to sit on top of a throne of socks, placing new crispy socks on your feet every day. And that's killer. So the socks go to, so you guys raise a bunch of socks for the homeless and underserved community. How do they get distributed? I mean, this is just in a Washington State thing, or you guys get them everywhere?
So that was if you have a team, just tell us who, usually there's 1 to 3 team captains. And then it is a marketing, right? Like, share about the good work that you're doing. So the idea is, the team captains would brag about who's on their team. We would share it from the Dyojo, and everybody else would share. But then you pick a local charity or charities in your area that you feel is doing good work. And so, so that's, like we said, this year we have Brandy in New Hampshire. We have the Canada teams. I know I'm drawing a blank. Oh, IICRC is a team this year. So
wow,
Nevada.
That's awesome. Congratulations, man. That's huge, man. I got to give you the flowers for that, buddy. That's a really cool thing that you guys are doing. So a couple things. How do people help out with this initiative? And we got a couple weeks left in September, so there's still time to add some socks to the teams. If anybody's listening here and you want to get involved, talk to me about how they can do that.
If you go to thedyojo.com/Socktember, we've got the teams listed. So find a team that's in your area. I know Brandy's gotten a lot of help, just saying that she wants to beat me, even though Sisters for Socks are the back-to-back winners, and going for a 3-peat. So yeah, just find the team, or the either the team closest to you or the team that you want to be a part of. For us, and I think all the teams, they've set up Amazon wish lists, so you can real simple. We tried to find socks that are of good value for a good price, and you can just mail them directly to their offices typically. I don't prefer to do cash because I just rather, keep it clean, but some of the other teams, you can Venmo them if they find a deal. Last year we were wondering if this was a fluke last year of just how many socks we were able to raise, because there was like these auctions. We have the port here. So up north and here, there were like these shipping containers where like they were socks that didn't get claimed, so we could bid on them. So we got some really good deals on some really good socks. And we haven't had as much luck this year finding that. So really the whole idea was exactly that. If you and I, just every time we go to Costco or Walmart or whatever, just bought 1 extra pair of socks, that if 100 people did that, it would make a big difference. So whether you participate in Socktember, it's a good thing to do. Underwear, undershirts, toiletries obviously are a big deal. I think every major city is having various issues with mental health and homelessness and all those kinds of things. So you don't have to do something big to make a difference. Obviously we have. Okay. So but yeah.
What was that URL again?
Thedyojo.com and then /Socktember.
Watch this.
Tech savvy.
Oh, look at it. Wait, I didn't do it. Check that out.
Boom. There you go. Bing.
If you're watching this on YouTube, check it out. Thedyojo.com /Socktember. And I did I'm trying to see how to do this here. Well, it's not going to show me. Your new name now in my book, and I'm changing it in my phone, is Socrates.
Socrates. Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Okay.
Yeah. So if
There
we
you
do
go.
get a Florida team together, and I know we got a lot going on here, so I'm always happy to just donate and just be a part of it. But if we ever do, that's going to be our team name. I think it just came to me. So dealing with the Socktember. So you guys check out that Socktember. Got a couple weeks. It's nothing to go, throw $20 at it. You spend almost that on 1 cup of Starbucks coffee every time you go there, and you can really make a difference for people.
Yeah.
It doesn't get super cold in Florida, but it's always nice to have a nice warm pair of socks, clean socks, but especially in Washington and states that, have legitimate winters.
Yep.
That's huge, man. There are a lot of people, and you would never think outside of your little world, that are dealing with things like that, and they just can't, keep warm. And, if it's awesome. So I can't say enough about what you guys are doing over there. Lastly, and we forgot to do this before, how do we get a hold of your book?
The book is on Amazon. If there's anybody watching that wants a How to Suck Less at Estimating is the most recent one. There's the Be Intentional series. You can see all 4. If someone wants to buy bulk for their team, then we can work out a deal and get you a little bit of a discount. Can I close with one thought?
No.
Okay.
2 thoughts. All right, go ahead.
You had mentioned your standing operating procedures. I think sometimes we make that more complicated than it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so before you can standardize your operating procedures, you need to operate your procedures standardly. So it's really standard operating procedures is just documenting what you already do. So it's not going to some conference and then saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to completely change everything. It's just, if you can spend 30 minutes a week saying, okay, or the next time somebody flubs something, just say, hey, this is how this is supposed to go. Let's get that documented. And then next month, we'll spend a little more time on the next thing. We did that initially because we had a little bit of time before work started rolling in. And then now how important it is going back over it and saying, okay, that's BS or that's really good. We need to implement this. And, but yeah, operate your procedures standardly, and then it'll be fairly easy to standardize your operating procedures.
That's awesome. And what a way to close out the show. Hey, Jon, thank you so much. You guys check out his new book, check out his whole series of books. It's never a bad day to learn something. And can't thank you enough. And check out Socktember. Check out the Dyojo.com if you need anything. Jon, thanks a lot for your time. I know you're really busy out there. We've been almost an hour. I'm sure if anybody's sleeping, wake up. The podcast is over.
Wake up.
Man. Anyways, man, thanks a lot. We look forward to having you out soon. And don't forget to check out the upcoming article in CNR Magazine. And if you haven't already, subscribe to CNR Magazine. Get the newsletter. I get it. I just signed up for the print when you were letting me know, so I can have a nice print copy of it behind me next time you come up on the podcast, man. Nice. Have a good day. And everybody out there, thanks for tuning in to the Restoration Rundown podcast. You can check out a replay on YouTube and on Spotify and anywhere you get podcasts, Apple Play, Amazon, we're everywhere. There were even in some places I don't even know about. So thanks a lot. Check out the revised edition of the No BS Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Contractors. Version 3 is coming out in the next couple months. I'm just trying to hold off to see if Google changes anything on me again, like they did on the first one. All right, man. Good to talk to you. We'll talk to everybody soon.
Sweet. Thank you, Ben.